when you usually drop something, I mean, I know I'm not the only person. You just stand there and you're like, why is this happening? Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't even move. Like, the can was literally just
you look at your hands
exploding.
Like, how could you betray me?
Yeah, I mean, I've held for sure over 550 pounds in my hand. I guess it's just a two-man show now. Mike, celebration of life.
It's better that way. We'll miss you, Mike.
It's not you guys' definition of a celebration of life. It's my own definition of a celebration of life. That Mike was not here. I should have brought my laptop to play and pretend like I was doing something. But
we're always trying to make jokes about like, oh no, that's just Mexican tradition. But
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's just you.
No, I definitely. I'm having the piñata made of him so I can beat the crap out of it. Today was definitely a day that I would have done it. As we know from the way it kind of started earlier.
So we talked earlier about, this show's kind of centered around the 4 F's, right? And for our audience who may be unfamiliar, the 4 F's that we are referring to are faith, family, fitness, and finance, right? So regardless of what current events are going on, what day we're talking about, whatever, we always kind of want to draw it back to those things because I think those are some of the foundational principles that are just important for men and leaders in general to know and to remember. So one thing me and Alex were talking about today as the two more maybe fitness-minded individuals on the podcast in general is that we haven't
Mike, you're doing a great job.
He is doing great.
Yeah,
he is doing great.
It looks better.
But yeah, me and Alex are both real passionate about that and love the fitness world and everything. So we haven't had a fitness-focused podcast in a while. Say that 3 times fast. So we just wanted to kind of start from the beginning. We've put out a few episodes now. We're still pretty early in the podcast game. But we just kind of, as we were talking, thinking about, okay, where's a good place to start when we're talking about fitness? And a lot of it is, what is your why? There's a whole lot of reasons why you might want to get into fitness and wellness, maybe even a better term to encapsulate those ideas. But what is your why? And I can tell you mine. My why is I watched my great-grandfather in his 80s doing push-ups with me, playing basketball with me, throwing a baseball with me in his 80s, doing fingertip push-ups, showing me all the things they did in the Marine Corps. And, I mean, it was just important to him to keep moving because he was a family guy and he was a workhorse and he didn't want to slow down, So that is my why. I watched him and I said, man, when I'm in my 80s, when I get into my 90s, and when I turn 100, I still want to be able to move and enjoy my family, And that's me, but everybody's got a different why. And Alex comes from a training background. He's been a strength coach for a long time, was involved in all kinds of athletic feats in his past life. And so he's got a lot more experience than me in that. So I just want to let him talk to that. Like, what are the whys that you see? When people call you up and they say, I want to transform my life, I want to be more physically active, I want to lose a certain amount of weight or gain a certain amount of muscle or whatever somebody's goal is, what are the motivations you constantly see?
I'm about to shift in a whole different direction because I can't follow up with such a good-hearted story when I'm actually still pretty upset that my whole why that I would think of working out is to be able to carry a lot of stuff at one time.
You want to be able to carry in all the groceries.
So there's not a person out there that does not want to make multiple trips in picking up groceries. So,
well, and Alex is still trying to get there because on the way into the studio today,
exactly.
He dropped half the stuff and busted C4
So
cans.
I think, see, that's why I'm just sitting here. I literally feel like all my legs are sticky. Thankfully, this is a really clean studio.
All your legs? How many do you have?
Yeah. Both of my legs still feel sticky. If Michael was here, I would probably never hear the end of it. But
so we are going to get to the important stuff. Yeah. But I do want you guys to know this guy has some of the oddest looking legs I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, I don't have any hair past my calves. I don't understand.
I didn't even have to say it. He said it for me. From here down is bald. Never in my life have I seen a grown man with bald ankles.
I need to defend myself.
The silence was so deafening.
Yeah, because I was like, I need to defend myself in that. So after over 15 years of taping my ankles from playing basketball and football, I literally just removed my own hair. But obviously, it's still sticking out. So yes, I do pride myself of walking out of HEB with 20 bags in my hand. So I got here, this evening, and I was bringing a case of C4. And I thought I can carry my bag, my dinner, and everything else all at once because I felt like I was strong enough. And
the weight of this podcast.
Yeah, and my grip gave out, and the C4s went flying, and the cans
I want you guys to know, it wasn't like he almost got to the door and he dropped. No, he stepped out of his car, he took 3 steps, and he dropped everything on the ground. Like, I don't know how you thought you were going to make it the whole way. But I walked out and there was just C4 spewing everywhere. And
when you usually drop something, I mean, I know I'm not the only person. You just stand there and you're like, why is this happening? Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't even move. Like, the can was literally just
you look at your hands
exploding.
Like, how could you betray me?
Yeah, I mean, I've held for sure over 550 pounds in my hand, but I couldn't hold a case of C4, my bag, my water, and my phone. I couldn't hold it. Like, what's happening? Am I losing strength? Am I giving up? I mean, where is my why? What is my why now? But thankfully, Jonathan had to remind me, hey, everything's gonna be okay, and we're cool and calm now. But that goes back to I wish I can remember what started or the fascination. I want to say that actually pro wrestling did when I used to watch TV. Back, I mean, literally, obviously, I'm 46 years old. So, one of the first wrestling stations, man, these guys were like so strong and they were so cool. So I remember asking my parents to buy me a weightlifting set. They bought me a weightlifting set that was made out of concrete that was covered with plastic. If it fell on your foot or if you dropped it on yourself, you were going to feel it for days. And I just remember just wanting to work out, and then literally. Then it went from the wrestling into the bodybuilding days, and then the athletes, and it just kind of carried over. But not everybody has that opportunity, or not everybody has that passion or love to pick up on it. And now, like you said, I mean, your grandfather, you witnessed him, you saw him. I mean, is it generational? Is it something that?
Well, it definitely skipped a couple generations by the time it came to me. I can tell you that. But it's funny you talked about the concrete weights, because I was listening to a podcast with Ronnie Coleman, and let me get closer to my mic. So for those of you who don't know who Ronnie Coleman is, arguably one of the best, really not arguably, one of the best bodybuilders of all times. And he was on a podcast called the Iced Coffee Hour, shout out to them, recently. But I was listening to kind of his story, and he said his first weightlifting set was concrete weights from Walmart that I guess he went and bought for super cheap, and that was his first thing he did as a kid. And it's just interesting how certain people get fascinated with weightlifting in particular really young, and now I think it's a trend. Like, I see a lot more young people lifting weight, and their goal is to be strong. Powerlifting has gotten a lot more popular over the last several years. Bodybuilding has gotten more popular, and there are pros and cons to that. Strongman, all of the above. And I think the pros outweigh the cons, but I think there's some negative that comes with that too, as far as young people's mental health and substance abuse that can happen in some of that industry, and different stuff that's just happening at younger and younger age because of social media. But when you're looking at that, I mean, I know you've got some young people you're training. Like, what do those conversations sound like? What's inspiring? Is it a social media influencer that gets them to want to get in the gym? Is it a generational thing, like you said? Is it pro athletes? Like, what's inspiring them?
I think the biggest thing is the fact that, of course, we all know that social media is a big aspect of it now. I mean, I opened up my gym 15 years ago, and Instagram, TikTok, Facebook was not what it is right now. I mean, it wasn't. So a lot of it, there was either two things. You either came to me because you played a sport and you needed to get stronger, faster, more explosive, or the doctor told you had to lose weight and you came to me. So it's kind of crazy because at that point, I literally was only marketing to two people people who needed to lose weight and they wanted to start working out because they had to, or I had athletes that were, needing to get stronger and faster. And as the years evolved, I think it became even a little bit more difficult for me because I still have an old school mentality in how I promote and market. I'm not a big social media guy. I feel like I have to do it right now because it's expected. I don't like it. I want to stick to the ground roots of how I learned it. I mean, I learned training from, guys that were in the gym for years, and I picked up on different things, and I went and got certifications, but it just was different. But now it is more based towards social media. I can't say how many times a week do I hear someone say, "Hey, I follow this person on such and such. This is the exercise they're doing. Can it help me?" And it does. It aggravates me. I don't know. Am I being old or am I? I mean, I don't know. I mean, even right now, I don't know because it just doesn't make any sense.
Do you think people are coming to you, like, let's say young people, people influenced by social media? Are they coming to you saying, social media has influenced me to want to be healthy and live a long life? Are people coming to you to say, social media I'm seeing a lot of people who are strong, I want to be strong, or is it I want to look a certain way? What's in these young people's minds?
Unfortunately, I have to say it's egotistical. It's I want to be bigger, I want to be stronger, I want to look just as good as them, but I do still say there's nothing wrong with that philosophy of it, but the approach to what you're training for, you got into training because you wanted to be strong like your grandpa. I got into training because I saw, the people on TV, which, I mean, in essence, it is social media, but I didn't take it to where I wanted to try to capitalize off of it.
You didn't want to look like them so that you can post gym
or even be a
videos.
wrestler. I knew that I didn't want to be punched in the face. I didn't want to be like leg chop. Whether you believe in wrestling is real or not, I didn't want to do that. But then when I started
does anybody actually think like WWE is for real?
Yeah, for sure.
People really?
Wait, don't ruin my life right now, man. I'm still,
there's no way. What?
Just as the Easter Bunny brings me my old wrestling videos and the Santa, don't ruin my.
Are there for real grown adults that actually think that? Like, not kids. I know kids watch it.
Yeah, no, there's. I still keep up with the wrestling world. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah.
Have you seen those?
They'll still have guys that will literally start crying when their favorite wrestler is defeated. Like, I gave that up 3 years ago, but
have you seen those videos of like if wrestling isn't real, then explain this, and they'll show just the most outlandish, crazy stuff that's ever happened in the WWE.
Where the wrestler picked up the wrestler and he starts babying him, and the wrestler falls asleep, and then he puts him on the mat, and then he pins him. Hey, I'm at that point where I'm like, yeah, I'll pin him. Like,
actually, that's so outlandish. Could they have made that up, or did it really happen? That's interesting though. That's such a wild. Like, obviously, it's for entertainment. It's not my thing. I don't understand it, but I have entertainment that I love that other people don't understand. So to each his own. But to such a quote unquote ridiculous sport that's very theatrical, that's whatever. It inspired you as a young person, because you wanted to be big and strong, physical, whatever, and now that's your career, right? So even the silly entertainment still can have an impact on people.
My mom still has video of when I was 10 years old, and she was recording with the old school VCR, VHS
oh my goodness.
camera, VHS VCR camera, holding it on her shoulder, like a full production crew, and she was recording us in the backyard, and she was like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to own a gym so I can train wrestlers." So it's funny now that my mom will still pull it up and show like friends. She showed my wife when we went to go visit her, and at that time, all I wanted to do was train wrestlers.
Well, and I don't know if you train wrestlers now, but you definitely train fighters.
The real wrestlers and then the real fighters, but it still was something that kind of kept me going, which. I mean, I didn't grow up in a healthy household. I mean, we ate what we could afford. We didn't it was bologna sandwiches, tuna sandwiches, eggs and beans, and eggs and rice. I mean, it's typical, but I still felt something. So I'm wondering, what can we do now, or how do we help those that could be like me? Because I was a fat kid growing up. So, what
is that? Why you're so easily bullied?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Are you kidding me?
Is that why you make it so easy?
Because this guy just all y'all in the face.
This dude just walks around with a target on his back, but he put it there. Like, it's. I don't understand. You like set us up. You just alley-oop. That's a layup every time. Every single time I've ever had such a great one-liner on Alex, because he set me up for it.
I know. Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. I've been like that.
It's like that time I pulled the chair out from under him. He looked and went,
Yeah. And the bifocal glasses growing up, and being goodness. Chubby, but always thought that I was stronger, and then challenging the people to lift stuff, and then when I couldn't lift it, it just started like a whole little different thing.
No, but so what you were saying is, like, how do we inspire the next generation to do that?
Not just generation, but just anybody who could be 30, 40 years old.
Right.
Like, if you're sitting around and your doctor says, you know what, you need to do something, like, how do we find it in them?
Well, but before we even get there, before we get to the question of how do we get people, why, right? Like, what is the reason? And I would say there's several things. Like, and to me, when I first started training, I would say I was probably 13, 14, and training is a stretch. I was doing push-ups and sit-ups and squats in my room because I didn't know what I was doing. I was watching Athlean X videos of bodyweight workouts and doing that myself, right? Well, once I actually started going to the gym, it was much more of, I could probably say, maybe a self-conscious thing as a teenager, because I was real skinny growing up. I wanted to get bigger and stronger. I wanted to play football. So it very much was about putting on size and different stuff. Now I'm at a point in my life where I'm sitting in the 180s, and I'm like, there's just no reason to get bigger. Like, I know you and other people in the gym will be like, bulk to 200, just to do it. But at some point, that becomes vanity and just becomes all in vain. Like, for what? I'm at a healthy weight, and I feel good, and I feel strong, and I don't think I'm going to be presented any challenge throughout the day that physically I can't handle, right? So now it is much more about me going, okay, I want to be 80 and 90 and 100 and still able to move. So what am I doing for that? Weightlifting is very good for that, but part of it is I'm not just bench, squat, and deadlift all the time. Like, moving your body in different ways. We all know that guy who can deadlift 600 pounds but pulls his back like picking a weed, right? So how do I get my body mobile to where it can fit into any situation that presents itself throughout the day, so that when I'm 70, I'm not constantly dealing with the back pain, and I'm not That's my why, because I plan to live a long life. It doesn't always go according to plan. I could die tomorrow, right. but I'd love to live a long life, and if I do, I'd rather feel good and be able to make a bigger impact on my grandkids like my great-grandfather did. I'd rather be able to have more energy to serve more people and to do more work and whatever it is that I set out to do for as long as possible. And that's my why. And I hope that these kinds of conversations can ignite something in people who go, it's been 20, 30 years and I've let myself go, but it's not too late, because on this track that I'm on, 20 years from now, I may be in a wheelchair. 20 years from now, I may be having heart attacks and strokes. But if I turn this around, we're all going to die. There's no way around that part, but maybe I defer it a little bit. But at the very least, I feel better and I can move through the world with more joy more easily, because waking up doesn't hurt, The
general health aspect of it, because you brought up a good point. I know for a fact that when I started going to the gym, and people have to realize too that times have changed where you have more of an opportunity and a benefit to start training. There's a gym on every corner now. I know for a fact when I was 15 to 18, I literally, when I turned 18, was able to drive. I literally drove an hour to the gym just to work out. Nowadays, there's a gym literally, and unless you live out in the country, there's a gym basically within 5 to 10 minutes of you. Second thing is, back then, it's the the reason for people going to the gym, it was bodybuilding. People didn't want to go get a trainer because they're like, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. Sports was a whole different world. Schools and colleges and teams had their own trainers. Gyms had personal trainers, but you wanted to get into bodybuilding, which people don't want to bodybuild. Now, over the last few years, it started transitioning into general health. The way I used to always look at it is that I wanted to live athletically. I wanted to be able to live like an athlete, regardless of if I play like one. I want to be able to run from something if I have to. You know, you go outside and I'm going to run from a possum or raccoon and everything, but hey, you don't know. You might walk out, there's a bull, but whatever.
Alex dropped his C4 on the ground. It sprayed and he went, and he ran.
And it was, I did a 35-inch vertical because I live athletically. Last week, there's a grocery or a little gas station across the street. We wanted to get something to drink and munch on. I timed myself how fast it was going to take me to run over there. I mean, these are different things that you don't have to play a sport, but the concept of fitness is more to general health, general physical. And I always tell everyone who has the ability and has to be able to be a proud father or mother or grandmother or aunt, uncle, to be able to pick up your kids, play with your kids. I used to give some of my new fathers joining into the gym that I would always give them the ideal situation where, just imagine if we're in, hot summer day, your car breaks down, you're with your child, you have to walk. You have to walk to the local gas station. Are you physically able enough to hold or carry someone if you need to and walk with them? Like, don't think about, I don't play a sport. I don't know. It's life. You have to live athletically. You have to run from stuff. You have to jump over stuff. I mean, I jumped over the C4 can that was spinning around in the ground. And you have to carry stuff. You have to carry groceries. How many times have I seen at restaurants and just different events where I even see people have to carry their loved ones out of the car to get them into a wheelchair?
Right.
Do you not want to be physically strong enough to be able to handle that without putting yourself or the other person in a compromising position? I mean, that's what I think the biggest thing of it is. I mean,
well, and it's like I've got multiple wonderful grandmas, but one of my wonderful grandmas I'm going to see this week. She has things that need to be done around her place, and it's one of those things that, there's a lot I can't control. If I get in a car wreck tomorrow, I could be paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of my life. Can't do anything about that. But what I do have under my control is my current situation. And right now I am able to go and help her do some physically taxing things at her place that she or my grandpa can't do, that maybe my uncles and aunts can't do, but I'm young and strong and healthy enough to do those sorts of things. And again, I'm not saying that with pride, because anything can be taken away tomorrow. Life happens, and not everything is always your fault. Injuries happen and health problems happen and all of those things. But what is under my control, I want to control. And one of the things I hear a lot, and I'll ask you what your response would be, is we're all going to die. I would rather die happy. I would rather die eating the things I want to eat and being able to lounge and not always feel like I'm chasing something or having to work hard for something that at the end doesn't matter because I'm going to die, when it comes to fitness and that sort of thing. What's your response to that?
Statistically, you're basically shortening your time. I mean, that's a proven fact. The less you take care of yourself, the more that you put toxins in your body, you're just lessening your life. So if you're loving life, why don't you try to enjoy it? I live a very balanced life. I mean, look at my shirt. It says Brewed in Texas. I am a huge beer fan, which some people are like, oh, alcohol, that. No, it's about balance. It's how you approach life. Just like you mentioned, I mean, I could die tomorrow. But statistically, which I'm always going to go based on statistics, which the whole world right now is based on statistics.
We're playing our odds.
Yeah, you're playing your odds. I mean, I'm going to take my chance on the fact that I'm going to live 90% of my life healthy. I'm going to watch what I eat. I'm going to work out. I'm going to get some kind of activity in. But I'm also going to balance it. But you cannot have a balance when you have zero activity, you're eating whatever you want to eat, and you're like, well, I just want to die happy. Well, you know what? Take in consideration your family, your friends, and how selfish you are, that there's probably going to be people that want to tell you something, but they won't. Because, how often do we have the nerve to be able to tell our family, yo, get your stuff together? We don't. Right. So that's going to have the choice you have to make. But I generally believe everybody has it inside of them that they want to make a change, but they're afraid where to go, what to do. They see these videos. They see these videos on social media where all these, really in shape guys and girls are posting their videos, and they think everybody has to be like that. But it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's just small little steps that you have to take. That's all it is.
Well, and not to mention the thought that you're going to die happy is so funny to me, because I've watched people struggle to walk up a staircase and struggle to walk from their car into the grocery store to get to the little buggy so that they can ride around. And and this is not to mock these people. It saddens me, because some people are there not by choice. Some people end up in that situation because of accidents, because of injuries, because of whatever, maybe foolishness when they were younger that caught up with them, or whatever, things they can't control now. But what can I do to lessen the chances, of me ending up in that situation? And how selfish would it be of me to be blessed with a fully capable body, without disease, without injury, and then mistreat it and put myself in that position? At what point does this become a stewardship issue, like we talked about in that other episode of, I've been blessed with a healthy body. Now, am I going to take care of that healthy body, or am I going to abuse it? And that goes for all of the F's. I've been given a beautiful family. Am I going to abuse and leave and abandon them? I've been given money and opportunity to work and earn a living. Am I going to waste away everything that I make? It's about stewardship at the end of the day, and taking care of these things that we've been blessed with. And I'm going to hit you with like a lightning round and just get your thoughts, because these are the things flowing through my head. These are the objections that come to mind. One, I don't have 8 hours a day to spend in the gym. What's your answer?
Then how many hours do you spend either responding to emails, watching Netflix, playing video games, scrolling through Instagram? Whoever just scrolls through Instagram for 5 minutes, you're going to sit on the couch and you're going to do it for 10 to 15 minutes. 24 hours in a day is a lot of time. And if I can't speak on the experience of the fact that I've had, whether you have kids or not, parents with multiple kids, even 2 jobs, taking care of a parent, and they just purposely square off 30 to 45 minutes. That's what you need. Now, nowadays, statistically,
so not 8 hours a day.
Yeah, I was like, 8 hours is not in the 20. Well, we all wish that we had an additional 8 hours, but so you need 20 to 40 minutes in a day to do some type of activity. I still would put anything on it and challenge anyone that can say I don't have that time. It's impossible. Impossible.
I don't have money for a gym membership.
You don't have a gym membership. That's why nowadays, with the benefit of social media, is that you can go to YouTube, you can go to Instagram, and you're going to get a dozen free workouts that requires no weights, that does body weights. Will you eventually hit a plateau? Yes, but the progression that you can make is still going to be able to do it. So that can be it.
I have bad genetics. Everybody in my family is overweight, so I'm never going to look like an athlete or like an Instagram model.
You're never going to, if you continue to compare yourself to what everybody else looks like, then that's what's going to give you the excuse. You're Jonathan, I'm Alex, that's James. That's Michael. He's Michael. He's not going to look like anybody else. You have to take consideration how you're going to look, and you be the best version of yourself. If your genetics were bad, you don't know what you could be, because you're just basing it on what you see in the past. But you don't know. I've seen dozens and hundreds of people that their family may not be where they should be, and they look totally different. I do. I look totally different than 90% of my family. I have the same genetics.
My hormones are off. so I'm never going to be able to lose weight.
Well, you have to go find out from the doctor because one, it's probably you're eating. It's probably chemicals. I mean, yes, I understand that you might have issues with that, which there are people who have issues with that, but they address it. More people blame it. They don't want to go to the doctor. They don't want to find out what exactly it is. But hormonally, you still have to control what you eat. And because I have a lot of type 1 and type 2 diabetics that are very healthy and they stay in shape, but they cannot eat and enjoy their life like other people can. They just can't.
Those are the cards they're dealt.
Yeah, that's what I have to deal with.
Statistics tell us 90+% of diets fail. Why is it worth trying?
Because they try to go into it hardcore. They try to stop cold turkey. It has to be a progression. I tell everyone, you have to slowly evolve into what you make changes are, because if you get into it fast, you're going to burn out. It's inevitable. Your body's too smart. Your body adjusts to it too fast. You have to take it into an account that on average, healthy wise, without gaining the back, you're only going to lose 2 to 5 pounds a month, maybe 8 to 10. So people want those quick fixes. They want those quick games. It's not going to happen. Longevity is always going to be the biggest thing. I've been working out since I was 15 years old. I've gone through all injuries. I've had to really take into account, and I'm no different than anybody else. I don't have no special genes, no genetics. I don't feel like I'm gifted. But I've had to finally realize it's the longevity. Diet-wise, working out, you just have to stick with it.
My name is Michael, and I'm bad at basketball. I don't think there's anything I can do to change it.
Not at all. I mean, you can sign up for my camp. I'm thinking about opening the one.
Where did he go? I heard him. Am I imagining things?
I thought you were being for real. I was like, are you finally on my side?
This door definitely opened, right?
Oh man, I thought we were being for real.
Stop! You're both messing with me.
I'm not.
Do you
I'm
promise?
definitely not.
I promise.
I really thought you,
Bro, what? I thought I heard this door open.
I thought you really acknowledged the fact that Michael needs help in me training him.
Are you for real?
So one of the side effects of staying healthy and benching over 300 pounds is you might lose some brain cells.
You start hearing things.
My co-host here, Jonathan. That's why I don't want to bench 300. I don't want to start hearing things. Because he literally jumped out like Michael literally just came back from.
Bro, I for real thought that he was behind me, bro. I really did. I thought I heard the door open. That's great. Okay, so here's one that I hear a lot from women. I don't want to get bulky, so I'm not going to lift weights.
There's no way that you can ever get really big without two things: adjusting your calories or basically steroids. That's it. You adjust your calories and you consume more calories than you're burning off, and with your lifting, you will get bulky. You use steroids, you will get bulky. If you calculate what your body weight is, what you want to weigh, and you calculate the amount of calories that you burn per day and the calories that you consume, along with a strength training program and cardio program, you're not going to get bulky. Been hearing it for 15 years.
Well, and
especially traps. It's always weird. Girls just don't want traps. I have so many girls. Would that make my traps bigger? I'm like, there is no
correlation between your leg press and your traps. Not at all.
That's the funniest thing that I always thought was like for women for over the years. They're like, I don't want big traps. I don't want to look like I'm not going to have a neck. Well, if you eat 10,000 calories a day and you're juicing, and I look over and you're sitting there shrugging 225 and you weigh 130 pounds, you're going to get some traps.
Then you'll get some traps.
Yeah.
Well, no, so that is one thing that I have found very encouraging about the social media thing. I honestly think for young men, unfortunately, there are a lot of negatives that come out of the online gym influencer culture that's happened. But for young women, I will say, I find what they're doing very positive 99% of the time, because what I see is young women that are not afraid to touch weights and be strong and be athletic and still be women, and they're not afraid of getting bulky, because I don't think people understand the effect testosterone has on your body. Women, unless you have a crazy hormone imbalance or you are using substances that we do not recommend using, or whatever, something very odd is going on, you will not get bulky like a man.
Right.
We're just genetically,
totally different.
we're biologically made different, and you are beautiful as you are, but you're not going to get bulky like a man unless you insert hormones into your body to make you develop like a man. And so I think there are so many benefits to strength training, weight training, not just for how you feel, not just for how you look. People think like, oh, I'll just do a bunch of cardio and get toned.
Right. No.
Quote unquote toning doesn't exist. You can build muscle or you can lose fat. A mixture of those will quote unquote tone you, I guess. But as you strength train, yes, you're going to quote unquote get more toned because your muscles will develop and the shape will look better and all of those sorts of things. But aside from all of that, your joint health, if you're doing everything the right way, as you get old, you tend to have atrophy set in on your body and you start to shrink. Well, if you have muscle mass on you to help,
it'll take longer.
It takes longer. You can stay stronger for longer through your body. And so I think that's a very, very positive side that I've seen is with young women.
Yeah, because the information out there, obviously there's some that you have to take with a grain of salt, but there's a lot of information out there that you can benefit and take into see, because there are some really good leaders out there in the fitness industry that are really trying to guide male and females and children and everyone. So the information out there, you have that opportunity. One, don't worry about what everybody else looks like. Don't overly concern yourself about how big you're getting or how strong you're getting or how much weight you can lift. Just start some kind of physical activity. If you need to lose weight, understand that it does take time. Quick weight losses are never going to work. Don't even worry about what the scale says. I mean, there is no such thing as that muscle weighs more than fat or anything like that. They're basically saying, what's the old thing? What weighs more, 5 pounds of feathers or 5 pounds of coins? Like, it's the same. It's just the way your body represented it. 5 pounds of fat may look huge. 5 pounds of muscle is smaller. So, people, I'm not an advocate whether to use a scale or not, but, just take into account that your body's going to start making adjustments and just start moving. Keep moving. Stay healthier. If you want to enjoy a long life, considering that what you can control, then just do something.
Well, and that's a constant motivation to me because my family has a long history of heart conditions. So I say that as I am drinking a C4. But in all seriousness, my family has a history of that, and I know that about myself. So no, I am not slamming a bunch of caffeine all at once constantly. I'm not going to do that to my heart. Do I utilize caffeine? Yes, in moderation. I sip on it in the gym, and then I sip on it on my way home and sip on it throughout the work day. But I am not slamming, right? Yeah. Because I know my history, I know my risks, and I want to be mindful of that. No, I'm not abusing drugs that are going to harm my heart. That's dumb. I don't think anybody should be abusing those substances or whatever, but all I'm saying is be mindful of those things, and not everybody's path is going to look exactly the same. I would say if anybody's starting out and says, I want to train, but I don't know what I'm doing, my main recommendation would be choose a path, choose a program that interests you, and stick with it long enough to see results. And by long enough to see results, I don't mean 30 days, I don't mean 60, I don't even mean 90. I mean 6 months to a year. Stick to something that is proven, that has real results, not just from some scammy looking website telling you and showing you back-to-back photos, but like someone that's documented on YouTube, on whatever, that you've watched what they do and you see several people doing a similar program. Choose a program that's been tested and designed by somebody who knows what they're doing. Don't try to go into it blind, and just stick with it. Whether that's bodybuilding, whether you want to get bigger and stronger and leaner and all of that, whether it's powerlifting, whether it's just general strength or wellness, and I can let you define what some of those things are and what the differences are, but find something that interests you. I now am kind of in a phase of off and on doing powerlifting with the team at Team Swole. And I'll run powerlifting for a while, and then I'll just try to maintain what I'm doing and enjoy my time in the gym. I don't want to burn myself out on anything. At one point in time, I was trying to get bigger and stronger, but for whatever season of life you're in and what you want to accomplish, choose a program that makes sense with that. Watch the videos, really get good at form and study it, and don't do anything crazy. Start light and just learn, because your first year of the gym, you basically could go in not knowing what you're doing and you're going to see results. You got those newbie gains. But that first year is so crucial because that's when you're training your body and your movement and your mind muscle connection, they'll call it, or whatever, on your movement patterns, and that's going to affect your training for the rest of your life. So just take it seriously, watch the videos, ask for help from people more experienced, and go with it. But if somebody came up to you and said, I just want to work out, you're going to want them to define that, right? Like what path are you interested in? What are different approaches you can take to working out?
So 2 quick things, kind of what you mentioned. One thing that I want to inform people, and I'm glad that I finally have a platform to really kind of reach out, is being able to choose your goal and understand that it's going to take some time. I stopped doing 30-day challenges years ago because I legitimately did not feel right. You're not going to make a change in 30 days. And I still call BS on those that will take advantage of people that feel like they're going to make a difference in 30 days. Can you lose some weight? Yes. But some of the stuff that you see on Instagram and what they post of what people are making in 30-day transformations, BS. Like I still will stand by it that they overhype it, and it discourages people because you'll have somebody who really does want to do it, and then they watch something like a video or they see pictures like, oh my God, if they're going to look like that in 30 days, I'm not going to look like that. And they just don't stop. So if you're wanting to start something, understand that probably 95% of what you're going to see on Instagram is going to be edited photos, and that's not going to be true. And like I said, I did that just because at one point I wanted to have a certain income stream coming in. So I ran a 30-day challenge, and I had people that did really good, but then I had people that, nothing happened because that was supposed to have happened. They didn't have enough time to be committed to it because 30 days was not enough time.
Well, because I feel like you'll end up with 2 camps of people. One camp that just won't try because they go, oh, there's no way I'm going to look like that in 30 days. And then the other camp that tries it and then is disappointed at the end of 30 days because they didn't make the total transformation that they thought they would, right? And I feel like that's a lot of people's mistakes is what's his name? Motivational speaker guy, uses a lot of foul language, but very motivational. Tony Robbins.
Oh, Tony Robbins.
Yeah. He was talking to this one kid who was very depressed and kind of on the edge of ending his life. And Tony Robbins is talking to him, and he says, most people overestimate what they can do in 30 days, and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Stop being so hard on yourself right now and think about you 10 years from now. Do it for him, right? And I feel like the same applies here, which is don't think that 30 days is going to change your life. You'll feel better after 30 days, for sure. If you improve any sort of, even if you just cut out sodas, if you drink more water, you focus on your sleep, any of those kind of aspects of your health, you'll feel better in 30 days, for sure. Your energy will be higher and all of those sorts of things. But you're not going to make a complete transformation. No. Maybe even in 6 months or maybe even in a year without like very, very specific fine-tuned training and diet, and a lot of what you see online is also helped by drugs and all of those sorts of things. But if you're just a normal person that wants to go to the gym and feel better and eat healthier throughout your week, you're not going to see all of that fast. But don't do it for that. Think about you 10 years from now. Think about you at 80. And think about your grandkids you want to run around with and do it for that, right? And so anyway, the 30-day fad thing I also think is why 92 or whatever % of diets fail, is because people go 30 days, and anybody can be motivated for 30 days. But when you go to an extreme that's not sustainable for your whole life, you cut your calories to just a ridiculously low amount, or you completely cut out carbs, or you completely cut out whatever. If it's just eliminating an entire food group from your life, you're not going to, 99% of people aren't going to do that for the rest of their life. That's just not sustainable. It's not realistic. So do realistic things that you can do for the rest of your life and just be okay with slower progress.
Right. Set the small goals. Understand that it's going to take some time, and hopefully you reach out or you find somebody, if you're not experienced enough, to find somebody that's going to be open and honest with you, that's not just want to take your money. if you can't afford a trainer or a personal trainer and you go to a gym and you go to your local gym, then go, utilize what's provided to us with technology and the websites. I mean, heck, surprisingly, I think we mentioned it before, I've ran some AI programs just to see what comes up, and it's legitimate information. Like, you punch in how much you weigh, how much you want to lose, and they'll give you a sound routine. Now, they're not going to be there with you doing it, but they're going to give you the baseline of what you have to do. Right. So there's so much information.
Yeah, well, and here's something I think intimidates a lot of people, and I don't think is something to be intimidated about, is other people in the gym. What will they think? I'm going to look like a lost puppy. What people don't get, I'm not saying there's not toxic people out there. That exists for sure. I can tell you, I have never experienced that in the gym. When I first showed up, the several gyms I went to, one was like a ghetto gym with no AC and everything's rusty, and like you walk in there like in the middle of the hood, basically wondering what kind of people you're going to meet. Most kind-hearted, caring people I've ever met in my life were the 300-plus pound bodybuilders in that place, that they see a little skinny 16-year-old kid or my overweight friend or whatever, and we're going in there, and they are super encouraging because they started in one of those places, right. And they want to see you grow and develop as well. And so one thing I would just add to the used technology and whatever is, I wouldn't be afraid to go to the guy who's bigger than you, who obviously has been working out for a long time, and just ask him for advice. Just say, hey, man, I'm brand new to this. Would you mind if I ask you a couple questions? Or would you mind if I just shadowed your workout and you show me what you're doing? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm telling you, 95+% of guys in the gym would just absolutely love that happening to them, would love to be able to show somebody the ropes, because most of us have that constant urge to try to correct somebody, but we're always trying to stop ourselves, because when you've been working out a long time and you know proper form and you see someone doing something that could hurt themselves or is not really accomplishing what they're trying to accomplish, you kind of want to step in, but you want to let people learn and you don't want to get in people's way. So I guarantee you they're dying to give somebody information because they've been doing this for a long time and studying it for a long time. And so don't be afraid to utilize those resources too. There's a lot of nice people in the gym, and it's a whole culture that's just almost like nothing you've ever experienced if you get enough into it.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that real fast, nobody cares the way you look like in the gym. Nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're the biggest, most muscular, or you have weight to lose and you're out of shape and you're fluffy and you just had a baby, or nobody cares. And if you feel like that people are staring at you or looking at it, I can assure you that there's going to be haters everywhere. There's going to be people who are negative. It does not matter at all. Find yourself there will be an environment to where you'll find yourself welcomed and it'll be comforting, but just just have to keep on going.
Well, and let's also not forget, in the context of this whole show, these principles that we're talking about apply to every aspect of your life.
Oh, of course.
Do not look at what you can do in the next 30 days only. Look at what you want your life to become. When you're talking about finances, it's not about getting stuff right now. It's not about trying to reach all your goals right now.
Schemes and all that.
Right. Proverbs says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but the wise man stores up little by little, or however it's worded. But that principle of it's good decisions over long periods of time. You hear Michael say that all the time. Yeah. That's it. That's his phrase. But it's good decisions.
He just said it right now when he opened the door. When he opened the door, he said that.
But over a long enough period of time, good decisions pay off, and that is in every aspect of life. And when it comes to spirituality, man.
Oh, that's definitely there.
People show up to church and they want their life to just be completely different the next day. And I'm telling you, it can be completely different the next day, but that doesn't mean it's easy from there on out, right? It is a constant work.
Well, even family. I mean, you have the interpretation, or you have the idea of what a perfect family is, and you just don't wake up to it. It evolves over time.
You build it.
If you're in a relationship, how you respect that relationship, how you treat the other person, and then if you have kids, how you treat your kids, how you raise your kids, how you educate your kids. So that doesn't happen in 30 days. Nobody's ever going to have a perfect family in 30 days. but people don't give up on it. Luckily there are still, loving, marriages that are still strong, but they didn't give up after 30 days and be like, oh, wow, this is not what I expected. Like, they gave it a chance. It's the exact same thing. It's just that fitness and health gets pushed to the side. But one of the best quotes, and I'll finish up with this one on my part, is we all want to quick schemes to get rich. We all want to, be financially stable. And we spend our whole life accumulating wealth to spend the rest of our life spending our wealth on our health. We work hard. We try to get all this money.
Hospital bills.
Yeah, and then when we're at the age where we retire and we have our IRA set up and we're getting all this money in, but 50% of us going to our medical expenses because now we need we have high blood pressure, we have cholesterol issues, we're diabetic. So the money that we just busted our butt on, we're actually spending on our health. So the irony of that. So it's like, take that in consideration. It happens, and it happens a lot here. So
right, and you just as when you make good decisions over long periods of time, you can also neglect things over long periods of time. Maybe it's not an injury, maybe it's not a sudden disease, or maybe it's not a total mistreatment of your body, but maybe it's just getting lax and getting too comfortable over a long enough period of time will also catch up with you. And it's just about living life intentionally. And yeah, the last thing I'll say is when we were talking about seeking out mentors in the gym, guys who've been doing it longer than you or girls who've been doing it longer than you, same applies everywhere else too. I think it's Romans 12 that says, like, look out at your leaders. And this is talking more specifically to the church, but I think it can be applied in a lot of areas.
For all of it, yeah.
Look at your leaders. Look at the people you look up to. Consider the end of their conversation or the end of their way of life. Consider the steps that they took to get there and follow them, right? So when you're talking about finances, Dave Ramsey says all the time, stop taking money advice from broke people. Right?
Yeah.
When you're talking to somebody who is halfway through their life and has nothing invested and has failed in every financial endeavor that they've gone on and, whatever, maybe that's a great person, but maybe it's not the person to take financial advice from. Talk to the person who is 60, 70 years old and they've held on to their wealth and they've built it slowly with good decisions over time and go, okay, what did you do? And most of the time you're going to find non-sexy answers to that. You're going to find, I just invested $300 a month into a Roth IRA for 50 years, right? Oh, well, I was expecting some big real estate scheme. No, I invested $300 a month into a Roth IRA for 50 years. The most boring, non-sexy answer is most of the time the good one. And just find those good old wise people who didn't just build wealth, but kept it and made those sorts of decisions. Talk to people who have the type of family that you want to have and who raised children that became great adults. A lot of people can have great children and then they become adults and they go wild and out. But what about the guy who raised really, really solid members of society? And that's the kind of family you want. The love between him and his wife after 40 years of marriage. Don't listen to me. I've been married for not even 5 years yet, right? I'm still trying to figure a lot out. I could have a lot of things wrong. I'm trying to learn from those guys, right?
Wait, that's, you've been married
every
how
aspect.
Long?
Almost 5 years.
So it was legal to get married in Texas like at 12? What?
I was 18 when I got married.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. I always just keep on forgetting you're like, you may be older than what I'm thinking you are, but okay, dang. You have more experience to speak on marriage than me. See, I'm gonna seek to you for advice, and that's why we need to wrap up this show. Because how do I get home and explain that me and Jonathan just started talking because we're both passionate about fitness, and it's late.
It's so funny because I was very young when I got married, and I have zero regrets. I'm not recommending everybody do that. It's not always the wisest decision. It was the best decision for me, though. And no regrets. But it's funny now, being in my early 20s, having almost 5 years of marriage behind me, talking to people who are 30 getting married, and I'll be like, let me know if you need any advice.
Yeah.
I got you. I've been there, done that. The honeymoon phase only lasts so long.
Thanks, Jonathan, for the advice. I'm so excited.